Welcome to Spotlight on the Arts. Hi, I'm Iris Acker, and I am your host tonight. The topic today is Starmaker. We'll meet our guest shortly, but first let's say hello to our panel. Karen Stevens, who is an actress and a writer. Michael McKeever, actor, playwright, scenic designer. Bill Hirschman is a theater critic. And our guest today is Denise Klass, who is the founder of Starmakers. Welcome, Denise.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Starmaker. Well, that's a big title. Very big title. But that's actually, it's a class. You started a class with little darling children that you say we did a show with before, and they've all grown up and become stars.
Yeah.
Most of them, I think you said.
Many of them, I'd say maybe 75 to 80% of them.
Had. So let's start at the beginning. Let's go way back. They take your class. You're still giving classes today.
That's correct, I sure am.
And what ages?
Well, we start very young. We started around 10 or 11. But years ago, when I first met you, which was back in 1992, we started with 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds.
Whoa.
In fact, some of them you even interviewed that went on to Broadway and really have had very, very successful careers.
That's what you know I want to talk about.
Yeah, I know.
The befores and the afters.
So exciting.
I want to talk about the stars that you made that have really gone on to professional careers.
Well, some of them that you actually met way back then, that you might remember, are stars right here in South Florida even. I don't know if you remember, and you all might remember them too. Matt Farmer, who's the assistant director now, the assistant artistic director at Old School Square now.
Great.
Yeah. And the up-and-coming Chloe DeLandis, which some of you might know, the singer, the jazz singer. She's tremendous. She's so great.
Now, you said some of them were winners on Idol.
Oh, sure. We had everything from the original Star Search back 1,000 years ago to the newer Star Search, to the American Idol, to the X Factor. We've had kids on every single show, Top 30. Nobody's won it yet. Nobody's won it, but they've really succeeded. Yeah, and we've had lots of YouTube stars. Well, AJ McLean from Backstreet Boys. Everybody knows AJ McLean from that. He was one of our early stars, one of our very early stars.
So Starmakers is a training ground for performing arts, multidisciplinary, acting, singing, dancing, or
it is.
It is.
It's very much a motivational, spiritual, learning how to believe in yourself, learning how to take the passion that's within you and really expand upon it and be successful in everything, because it's not enough to just have talent. As we say at Starmakers, it's 80% showing up. And it's 80% showing up, passion and believing in yourself and what you're doing, your genuineness, and it's really about maybe 10 or 15 or 20% about talent.
Oh,
so
really?
yeah.
So what was it that gave you the impetus to begin with Starmakers?
Well, that's easy. Way back, I'm aging myself now, when I actually graduated college, my parents made me get an education degree, even though I really wanted to be a famous actress, of course. And I took my theater techniques that I had learned to get a grant so that I could get a graduate degree for free and get paid through school. And I worked with children that were autistic. And let me tell you, back then, this was in the early 1970s. So to say when children were autistic, deaf, blind, they were actually rubella active, if anybody remembers the rubella outbreak in those days. Babies that were born to mothers who had rubella in pregnancy were born with all sorts of quote unquote handicap. So I set out to prove that the only handicap that a child really has is a handicap of self-esteem. So by using theater techniques, improvisation, and all of the things that, as actors and playwrights and you all know, that you can learn to believe in yourself. And it's amazing what applause will do, when you're in that situation. So my so-called handicapped kids ended up not to be so handicapped after all and end up being mainstreamed.
Wow.
No, the world is very different now than it was then. But in those days, that was a really big deal. So that's what really was my motivating force. And I took that and created Starmakers in 1984. And I've been doing it ever since.
Wow.
That's wonderful. That's really wonderful. Let's talk about Starmakers now. What are the ages of the students that that you work with?
Well, now, you know, I'm a bit older, and I actually retired about 11 years ago, but I retired for only 3 months because my students grew up. They began having children. They had younger siblings and things like that. So they all started calling me and said, you know, can you help out, and can you come and coach, and can you come and teach? And I found myself not only teaching in acting and singing, but now I'm teaching people how to succeed in business. So, for example, this is a good example, Kathy Heller-Reinstein. She's a songwriter. She was a Starmaker. In fact, she was around in those days when you interviewed me. And you hear her songs now. Not only is she a songwriter and a singer, but she has her own songwriting company, and she's her own businesswoman. She was just featured on Variety just recently.
That fascinates me, though, about the idea that you're teaching these skills to businessmen.
That's correct.
But to a wide range, scientists, so I understand, doctors.
That's correct. That's correct.
Various professions that it wouldn't. Talk a little bit about how you transmit and how those people use those skills. Why does a doctor come to you and say, teach me how, you know, your
teach me how to have a better bedside manner.
Talk about these various side professions.
Well, a lot of doctors, particularly that are in research, we've had doctors come to us that are in research, for example, that have to give speeches, and they have to really communicate what they're doing and the excitement that they have over their inventions, their products, whatever, their medical procedures, and it's difficult for them to speak in front of people. It's really difficult for them. It's not about, you know, people write speeches for them, but it's not about the speech writing. It's about what comes from the inside. So once they understand the genuineness of speaking from within yourself and being yourself, and you know as actors that basically that's what it's all about. You have to take yourself with you wherever you go. And if you can do that, if you can take yourself with you wherever you go, you're going to succeed. It's a win-win situation. You can't lose because it's who you are. The key is believing in who you are and believing what you're doing. That's the key. If you don't, you shouldn't be doing whatever it is you're doing. So
I'm sure you have a lot of attorneys that come to you.
Attorneys. And Kathy, getting back to Kathy, this is a good example of a Starmaker who started out in acting classes and singing classes and ended up creating a business of songwriting. Mm-hmm. And her songs are on television programs, most of the sitcoms, you know. Her songs are on Switched at Birth, on the McDonald's commercial, this past summer on the McDonald's commercial. So, you know, I mean, it's incredible. It's not just about, you know, becoming an actor or becoming a singer anymore as well. It's about being able to handle a business, being able to succeed in business.
Mm-hmm. The business side of the business. When I used to always teach that. There's so much, like you said, to the business side of the business that they don't know. And
that carries forth in all businesses. It works for all businesses. I've actually tested it myself.
I actually
did it. I did a 2-year study in real estate, which they say is the most difficult place to succeed, right? There's thousands and thousands of real estate agents. So I went and said, I'm going to test my program to see if I might be able to help people make more money in real estate and succeed. I had so many friends that were not succeeding. So I actually went and got my license, became a real estate agent, and crawled on the street, literally, 'cause that's what you have to do, and discovered that, you know what, if you just take yourself with you wherever you go, especially all the things you learn as a young actor, you can succeed. You can succeed, and I succeeded so much that I almost kept doing it because I was making so much money. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. But my passion is coaching and training.
When I Googled you to do research, what I first came up with was you as a realtor, and I said, that's not the right person.
Yeah. You're going to see me as a lot of business people. That's what I do, though. I try to do research in a lot of different areas because I feel like I can't coach it and I can't teach it unless I understand who you are. Mm-hmm. It's easy for me to understand the actor or the playwright, you know, or the TV show host or the newspaper writer, but because that's part of who I am, it's a lot harder to understand something that you've never done. So I say, go out and do it, give it a try, and see if it works.
Denise, let's say I'm watching this show right now and I'm saying, this program sounds great. I want to find out how to become one of your students, how to study with you. How would I go about doing that?
Just you can look me up like he did. Just go to DeniseKlass.com and you'll find me.
That's simple. Excellent.
Yeah, and I just was going to say that your passion, as you mentioned, your enthusiasm, if that's contagious, that's what's working. As I say with real estate, or just selling in general, what is selling? It's acting. You sell
Always.
Yourself
That's
with
right.
the product. You sell
That's right.
yourself.
That's right.
And so that's what you do. I can see how enthusiastic you are.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter if you're a professor at a college. You might as well have your class be the best class at the college. Why not? You know, if you're a leading CEO or a COO of a corporation, why not be able to have everybody really, really wait and listen to every word that you say? If it comes from the heart, they will.
So it's as much about self-worth as it is honing the trade.
Self-worth. It's all about self-worth. That's the key.
But it's interesting. I mean, if I understand, your techniques to some degree are usable or by almost anybody. But when you talk about as a star maker, have you looked at certain students and gone, yeah, but there's something there?
Oh yeah.
Talk a little bit about what is it that you see when you're seeing a 5-year-old or a 15-year-old or a 25-year-old and you go, there's something there. What is it that catches your eye?
I have often really wanted to write a book. That's my dream. That's my dream right now. But I want to write a book about that commonality of that thing that some people kind of have. And if I had to put my finger on it, I would say out of all of the young people that I coached and trained that really, even the ones that I'm training now, that are becoming famous in a different way on the YouTube, you know, I would say they all have this one common thing, and that is this underlying passion for what they do. And you can smell it, you can taste it, you can feel it. You can be in a room with them and know that they're special. You just know it. They don't have to be noisy, they don't have to be loud. They could be the quietest one in the group. But you just can feel and taste their passion and their love for what they do. And there's some intelligence there, you know, there's some commitment. I think it's that kid that constantly is doing the same thing over and over and over again because they want to get really good at it. And they don't have to be the most talented. They have to be the most committed.
And then what do you do when you see that? How do you develop that?
I encourage it.
In
I will
what way,
work with that
specifically?
person. I don't care if they pay me or they don't pay me. I don't care if they have money or they don't. It is just something within me that is just so attracted to that. And I just want to just raise them up and help them go and help them fly. That's my passion. So.
You mentioned that your star makers, your young star makers, actually performed. And we're talking about Jan McCart's Royal Palm Dinner Theatre.
Oh, for years we
which
performed.
has been closed now for too many years. But and that's where they performed.
Oh yeah, and then we had our own theater. Starmakers had our own theater in Boca Raton after that for another 15 years. So they've performed 52 weekends a year.
Is it frustrating for you not to be up there yourself performing?
No, absolutely not.
Really?
No, because I think if I wanted to, you know what my favorite saying is Mama Rose's favorite saying, if I could have, I would have. you know that line in Mama Rose, if I could have, I would have. Because I don't think I really wanted to. I think if I think if I wanted to, I would have. And I think that my pleasure in life, I'm a teacher, I'm a coach, and it's just what I like to do.
What happens when you come across that student that doesn't have that spark, that doesn't have that thing? How do you address that challenge? Have you come across the situation?
Yes,
like that?
many times over the past, since 1984, so you know how long that's a long time. very often, especially in the old days, back in the 1980s and the 1990s, we would have the moms and the dads that would really push their kids. You know, they'd really want them to become famous and this and that. And that was hard because we really had to sit down with folks and tell them, you know, this is to come from your child, not from you. This is not about what you want. This is about what your child wants. So nowadays it's different because with, you know, so much experience underneath my belt, my approach is different. Now it's about, do you want to do this? Because you have to really want to do this. Because if you don't want to do this, please don't do this. This is tough. This is really a tough business. And sometimes it's not the acting that they want to do, and that's how we got into other, you know, disciplines in business and so forth, because sometimes it's just that they have a drive, and sometimes a parent doesn't recognize it in a 16-year-old or a 17-year-old in high school. They have such a strong motivational drive. So we say, you know, you don't have to become an actor. Go become, you know, the next Steve Jobs. Go become, you know, the CEO of a company. Or go discover a cure for a major disease, you know, but you don't have to become an actor. And we take that same motivation and we try to encourage it into other disciplines. So that's one of the ways we got into other disciplines.
I know I was going to, along the same lines, you know, self-esteem is something that you can't really teach. You got to help someone to find, and usually that's that comes with accomplishing things, reaching goals, learning to feel better about yourself, you know, that kind of thing. So with you saying that, encouraging people to go into directions where they feel more comfortable,
Yes.
or they have more passion, that's a more accessible way to achieve some levels of self-esteem. Was there a particular teacher or mentor in your life that was special to you or that helped you when you were younger?
I would have to say, yes, there was. I would have to say my mom. I would have to say my mom because she was an early pioneer in terms of being a woman, a stronger woman who succeeded at something that she believed in. Besides the fact that she was very talented, she had a magnificent voice and was a wonderful talent. She succeeded at a time, you know, when women were really not, you know, leaders and CEOs and business people, and she was quite successful at what she did. So I really looked up to that. And she used to take me to, interestingly enough, she would take me to seminars. Maybe I was 10 or 11 years old, and she didn't have a babysitter, so she would take me to seminars that she went to at the time. Gosh, I can't remember now. Maybe, I don't know, maybe one of you remembers, I don't know. They would give seminars about learning to believe in yourself and self-worth. And I must have been 10 or 11 years old. And so many of those things really stuck with me my whole life. So I just want to teach them and share them.
Yeah. I wish someone had taken me to some empowerment.
It's really important, though. It really is, especially for women. Even though we are going to maybe have a female president, you never know.
But it's amazing. I mean, the younger you are, when you can soak up that kind of material, that kind of knowledge, you know, the better off you are, because, you know, the young brain, you know, processes that, and you know, the subconscious and all that, you know, all that good stuff starts to come into play, and then you know, you're on a path, you know, and unfortunately so many people don't get that. So
agreed.
You're really fortunate.
Or they pick up the wrong messages.
Or the wrong messages.
They'll sit there and sometimes nobody's actually teaching it, but it's something they pull in from the world around them.
That's correct.
I mean, these are all like roadsides that lead you on, you know, down the path to the rest of your life, and it's always good to get the right directions.
You know what? Everybody needs a coach too, though. Interestingly enough, everybody really needs a coach. No matter how successful you are, everybody really needs someone to say, you could do even better. You could do even more.
As a director too.
You could do it.
You do a play and the director tells you.
That's
such and
right.
such.
A good director will be your coach.
Could you share with us some of your specific exercises that you do with your students?
Yes, I can. Well, specific is hard to do unless you want to get up and do some.
Oh, okay. Or describe them.
We can do some right now.
Or describe them for us.
Well, you know, one of my favorite games is the what if game, which is really nothing more than an actor's improvisation techniques. It's really the what if game. It's what happens if this happens. Because the things that we worry about are never the things that really happen. So just like in improvisation, if you're working on a play, you're working on lines, and you say, I'm not going to forget my lines, but what if my co-actor forgets a whole page of the script? What am I going to do? I'm going to have to make up the story, So I like playing what if game, and I think when people play that game, that improvisational basic acting exercises, that's what it's all about. I think they discover that they have so much inside of them that they can express, and you know what? People might listen because it's coming from their heart. And once people understand what it means to not act, not pretend, not make believe, once they learn how to just talk from inside, guess what? It works.
Starmaker, though. It's
It
a little
works.
scary because I think if everybody comes to class, she's going to make me a star.
No. You have to make yourself a star. I'm a star maker, and I believe in me. And every day I try to be the best that I can be.
That sounds good. It sounds good. I'm trying to think of youngsters, but yet again, you're not working with youngsters anymore.
We still work with, all ages. We start. I just don't start at age 5 or 6 anymore. I work.
yes.
I work primarily starting. I like to take them like around 11. And one of the reasons why I changed that is because now when I get a 5 or 6 year old, mom that calls me, I've learned through the years to say, just encourage them. Just let them be kids. Just let them be children. And if they're still telling you, Mom, I want to, do something, when they're 10 or 11, call me back.
Have there been other things that you've learned, having done it this long? How has this profession, such as it is, changed over time? What have you learned that you're doing differently now than you were doing back then?
So much.
Such as?
So much.
Specifically.
YouTube, computer, internet. We didn't have any of that.
And how do you use those?
Yeah, how has
It's imperative, yeah.
the new social media, how has that impacted your students and how they apply this newfound confidence?
Yeah, good.
Well, do I have time to tell a really quick story?
You have time.
Sure.
Okay, great. So about, I don't know how many years ago, before YouTube was in existence, about 2 or 3 years before, does anybody know on YouTube? I think it was like 1990, I want to say, it started like in...
I was a child.
We were children.
I think it was maybe late 90s, early
Late
2000s.
90s, yeah. Okay. Well,
maybe.
It was about a year or two before YouTube. My husband and I were in St. Thomas on vacation at a hotel on the beach. And I was very happy, so I was singing, because I love to sing, I was singing to probably my Sony Walkman, because I don't even think that the iPad was invented yet. The iPod. I don't even think it was invented yet. Oh my gosh, am I aging myself. So in any event, this man turned to me and he said, "Oh, you have a very nice voice." And I said, "Oh, thank you, I'm just playing around." He says, "Well, what do you do?" I said, "Well, I'm a coach, I train kids to sing and act, and I have a children's theater and so forth." And he says, "Well, I have something that I want to share with you." He said, "I'm working on this with my partner where you're going to become famous from the internet." I said, "Yeah, right." Yeah, sure, right? Anyway, to make a long story short, he was one of the founders of YouTube.
Wow.
And he said, "You watch for YouTube. What you're going to do is click a button and applaud." So nowadays, we teach the kids how to work the YouTube. We teach, actually not just kids, we teach everybody how to produce, direct their own video and create their own YouTube channel, because if you really want to become successful, you've got to get on the YouTube. So that's a very big part of what we teach. It's very important.
Wow.
So they're
But
a
I wish
star
I
in
would've
their
kept
own
that
right.
guy's
That's right, they're an immediate star. When you think about it, they make one of themselves. They do
Well,
it
we have
themselves.
quite a few that really have become famous on YouTube that are becoming, we have Allison Taylor, for example. She's huge. And Andy Goldenberg, who you interviewed in 1992, is the number 5 best comedic YouTube channel, Golden Tusk, on YouTube. And he's a famous YouTube. They're really, truly very famous on YouTube.
It's a good feeling.
So it's very different than going on a tour bus.
Do you know where it's going? Can you see ahead
No, but I wish I kept that guy's card at the beach because maybe he knows where it's going. That's why I threw it in the garbage thinking, oh, wait.
Of course. In addition to YouTube, there are other outlets as well, and kids today have learned, I mean, their whole life is online and on a
Everything.
computer, so as they say, they build their own life, their own career,
They do.
all online. Just
And they
as-
have to be business people to do it. They have to be business people to
Well,
do it.
that's the business side of the business, yes, promoting yourself. And I hope they put you on their resumes, whether it's online. I always wonder about that. All the years that I taught, I thought, gee, do they give me credit on their resumes? Why, that's important to me, not my career. I don't know. Let
I
somebody-
studied commercial acting with Iris Acker.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Well, I have a student, Shannon Woodward, who was on Raising Hope with Cloris Leachman, you know, and she's on TV just every day, and she was on that Fox TV series Raising Hope, you know, for years. And I don't need them to put my name on their resume, but I do love it when they find me on Facebook and send me hugs and kisses, and they do. They're all my
nice.
Facebook friends, so I love
great.
that.
Well, I think it's all quite wonderful. It really is, that credit or not, that you love what you're doing.
I do.
And they're profiting from what you have done for them, and you are yourself, because it's just enjoying, you know, their life becomes yours, their career and everything, because you could. There's a word that it is in Yiddish, it's the only I can think of, say kvel. I know that word. I just can't replace it with another word ever. And enjoying them. And we've enjoyed you. It's really, I've had teachers on, and everybody is so different. Don't you find that, panel? Everybody's so different.
Absolutely.
And so that's why we enjoy having different guests each week. And each week I feel that my audience is learning something from them. Just very quickly again, DeniseKlass.com, correct?
Yes.
Get in touch with you.
Thank you so much.
And stay in touch with us. Please, please, please stay in touch with us. That's by joining us every week right here on Spotlight on the Arts. And if you want to find out what's going on in town, it's so simple. Just online, go to FloridaTheaterOnStage.com. Thank you.